I will now into pillar one of the decarbonization pathway, low carbon fuel solutions. And fuel choice lies at the very heart of maritime decarbonization. Shipping operates over long distance, carry heavy cargo, and require reliable, high energy density fuel. As a result, how we powered vessel will largely determine whether the industry can meet its climate target. So in this chapter, I will walk through the range of alternative marine fuel currently available and emerging, from options that can be deployed immediately to those that will enable deep, long-term decarbonizations. And the key message here is that there is no single silver bullets. Instead, the transitions require a portfolio approach, combining bridge fuel that work today with scalable zero carbon solutions of a future. Let us now examine the pathway that shaping the next chapter of a global maritime transition. And as we noted, or we look more closely at low carbon fuel solutions, the first step is to understand the relative emissions impact on the different fuel options now available to the maritime sector. And this slide actually highlight the result of well-to-well and tank-to-wake emissions analysis, which allow us to compare fuels not only based on how they perform on board of a vessel, but across the entire life cycle. So I mean to say, real talking about the upstreams of the ships to the downstream of the ships. At the end of the spectrum, green hydrogen and green ammonia represent long-term goal standards. And they offer zero tank to wake emissions, making them essential for deep decarbonizations for long haul, ocean-going vessel. However, they require a new vessel design, new bunkering system, and significant support infrastructure. In the near terms, biofuel and green methanol provide a highly attractive transitions pathway. Biofuel can be deployed today on existing vessel with a very minimal modifications, making them as a practical bridge solution. Meanwhile, green methanol is gaining momentum globally due to its scalability, liquid handling familiarity, and strong industry investment. Finally, shore power play a crucial supporting role. While not a fuel for propulsions, it enables vessel to fully eliminate emissions while at berth, delivering immediate air quality, carbon benefit with port boundary. The key takeaway from this slide is that decarbonization is not only a single fuel journey, it is a layered transitions where near-term solutions reduce emissions now, while long-term fuel mature to deliver fuel net zero shipping in a decade ahead. Let me go through this one. And building on the portfolio views of alternative fuel, let us now focus on bioenergy, which represent one of the most practical and immediate deployable pathway of maritime decarbonization. And bioenergy stands out because it allows the industry to reduce emission today without waiting for new vessel design or entirely new fuel ecosystems to mature. And derived from organic biomass, biofuel can often be used in existing engine with a minimal or no retrofitting, making them as an ideal bridge fuel during the transitions period. Advanced biofuel such as biodiesel, renewable diesel, and blended fuel are already commercially available and have proven performance in maritime applications. And this make them particularly valuable for short-term and medium-term emissions reductions across existing. Probably for informations like Malaysia, as far as diesel is concerned, is actually a mix and a blended between the diesel by fuel by fossil fuel plus the biodiesel that actually help us in managing the emissions in Malaysia. Importantly, tropical and agricultural economic hold a very strategic advantage. Tropical country example, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the rest of Asian country. In this space, nations with abundant palm agricultural and organic biomass resources are well positioned to build domestic biofuel supply chain and supporting both energy security and green economic growth. This is why many countries are developing biomass actions plan for the 2023 to 2030 timeframe, not as an state solutions, but it is a critical stepping stone to lower emission now, accelerating learning and prepare the industry for future zero carbon fuel. In short, bioenergy buy us uh, time to scale infrastructures, mature hydrogen and ammonia technologies, and ensure that maritime transitions orderly, affordably, and also inclusive rather than destructive. Sorry. Okay, while bioenergy provides an effective bridge for immediate emissions reductions, the transition does not stop there. The next fuel gaining strong global momentum is actually methanol. And green methanol increasingly seen as a near-term scalable solution that sits between today transitions fuel and future zero carbon options. One of the key advantage familiarity is methanol is in liquid fuel. Handle using process already well as understood by the maritime and port industry. And this practically is a major reason why leading global shipping lines have already committed substantial capital methanol ready vessel. And this early investment signal confident that methanol can be deployed at scale while longer term fuel such as ammonia and hydrogen continue to mature. From a port perspective, methanol is equally attractive. Bunkering infrastructure can be developed using existing storage and distribution concept, significantly lowering the cost and complexity of transitions compared to entirely new fuel system. As a result, the several strategic port are positioning themselves today as a future green methanol hub to capture emerging demand. Perhaps most importantly, methanol offers a clear path to net zero emissions. And when produced from renewable electricity, biomass, and capture carbon, this main investment made today in methanol vessel and infrastructure are not stranded. They remain compatible with long-term decarbonization goal. In summary, methanol represent a critical stepping stone fuel, practical, investable, and scalable, helping the maritime sector more decisively towards a low carbon future, while building confidence and momentum across the supply chain. So far, we look at several individual fuel options: biofuel, methanol, hydrogen, ammonia, and shore power. And each with its own strength, maturity level, and role in the transitions. What become clear from this discussion here is that there is no single silver bullet fuel that will decarbonize the entire maritime sector overnight. Instead, what we are seeing a spectrums of clean fuel pathway, each suited to different vessel type, trade routes, and time horizon. And this slide bring that perspective together. At one end of the spectrum, we have solutions that are available today, such as drop-in biofuel and shore power. That's very clear, very fast, low-hanging fruit, delivering immediate emissions reductions using existing asset and infrastructure. In the middle of the spectrum, fuel like green methanol are rapidly scaling, supported by strong industry investment and relatively straightforward for port integration. These options are enabling shipping lines to make meaningful progress this decade, not just in the distant future. And at far end of the spectrum, green hydrogen and green ammonia represent the ultimate destinations and fuel with zero tank weight emissions that will power deep sea shipping in the long term as a technology safety framework and supply chain matured. The key message here is that decarbonization is a journey, not a single leap. And the most resilient and credible strategy is one that embracing multiple pathway in parallel, matching the right fuel to the right applications while steadily moving the entire system towards net zero. And the layered approach allow ports, operators, and government to act immediately, manage the risk, and avoid stranded asset, all will keeping pace with international climate commitment. Now, so when we step back and look across biofuel, methanol, and emerging zero carbon fuel, the critical questions become what should the industry do next? Yeah, and the way forward of low carbon fuel require parallel actions on multiple fronts. Not waiting for the perfect solutions, but progressing pragmatically and strategically. First, look at the investment in research, development, and pilot projects is essential. Green ammonia, hydrogen, and advanced biofuel must be tested at scale to validate not only their technical feasibility, but also their commercial and operating readiness in real port conditions. Maybe I can share how this investment in R&D and pilot looking at. I'm also looking at how we can actually develop a green electron that actually will energize the electrolyzers, hydrogen molecule mixed with nitrogen that will actually formulate what we call ammonia, green ammonia, green ammonia. Looks simple, but I think we need to really look at the whole scheme so that we can get the right scale investment in the context of green ammonia. Second, we must actually build robust supply chain, particularly for biofuel and green ammonia. Yeah, and this means moving beyond fuel productions alone and developing end-to-end ecosystems from feedstocks and processing to storage, transport, maritime bunkering delivery. Yeah, and the third one is actually the port and government need to prioritize bunkering infrastructure at a strategic hub port. And by investing early in methanol and LNG-ready infrastructure, port can position themselves as regional leaders capable of serving next generation vessel fleet and attracting premium green certified shipping line. And finally, none of this will happen at necessary pace without strong policy signals and incentive. Subsidies, tax incentive, and supportive regulatory framework can accelerate early adoptions, reduce first mover risk, and reward operators who act ahead of mandates. Yeah.